Intronaut. Fluid Existential Inversions. It's a long title. So, yeah. This is their 6th studio album. They are considered, at least at the start of their career, they were a progressive sludge metal act, if you will. One that somehow wind up not only just progressive metal, but also somehow in post-metal, and to some extent avant-garde metal. They also kind of, according to Wikipedia, if you go to their main page, as opposed to their album ones. And apparently, the only full lengths I do have from this band right now has been, of course, I had to do this one. I had to, because most of those who see my YouTube channel, my first decision to finally upload something to a YouTube channel was for the, sorry for the rain, and the wind, was, of course, to their last album, Intronaut, The Direction Less Sane. Something I didn't mention, I don't think, during that, which, that album, I was sort of mentioned as sort of in a weird half-assy way of talking about them. And their style is has been comparable mostly towards Mastodon and Baroness, though the band does not acknowledge the latter, which is, of course, Baroness, as an influence, even though there's been people who have claimed them to be a Baroness light. Not exactly a bad thing, as long as that light is more along the lines of being a light version of their first 2 records and not something along the lines of your Yellow and Green, or at this case, I guess, Golden Gray. But it's great if they just had someone else who could mix it. Hell, I would say they should have had whoever they had mix this record and whoever these guys had mixing these last couple albums. For Intronaut, mixing that record, it might have turned out better. I am not kidding. Especially given the pedigree of the names that were involved mixing these records. Last record, I didn't get to mention that, by the way. The last record was apparently mixed by Devin Townsend. An additional mixing credited to Adam Nolly Getgood of Periphery. So yeah, and this one, I was like, the name sounded familiar. Mixed by Kurt Blue. 2 moments later on Wikipedia. Fucking Converge? A fucking Converge? Man, they know how to get around, eh? They know how to get some people into their stuff, I tell you what. Unless your name is, unless your name is, Mark of Spectrum Pulse. But besides that, yeah, I mean, this is so far one of the better prog bands we got this far this year. That I was looking forward to, or more so just to finally deep dive into their discography instead of having just listened to this last record. Which, by the way, apparently, having gone through this album, the Crows here are sort of a, and not to mention the artwork itself, for both actually, are sort of a callback to their Prehistoricism record, which was their last really extreme metal-oriented record before they kind of softened up a bit around Valley of Smoke and started doing more cleans. And then they really went like Deftones, hard. Well, a lot of the comparisons they wound up having on their Habitual Levitations record was to not only Deftones, but Hum. A band name, unless you're like Torch, most people would not even know. Or Deftones for that matter, which they have been compared to. As well as Tool, a band named Ocean Size, which I guess is a big name if you're in the post-rock scene and post-hardcore type scenes, I guess. Or at least that's what their style has been labeled as, is that maybe alternative metal, I'm not sure, but they've mentioned that, which is one of the lesser known names they mentioned. Of course, Tool was a big one on there, and of course, Alice in Chains. Still a little, at least on that record. And honestly, Habitual Levitations is really, I think they're best, if not The Void. And there's some really cool ideas that came off of Prehistoricism, even though the title track sucks, personally to me. That's your brief summary on that. I've looked back on this record, and it's fine. It does its thing, and it's just, to me, it's more the pleasant surprise and the unlikely event of a water landing that stuck with me. With this record, looking back, giving this more, it's more fuller in comparison to the last record. And there definitely, you could tell it feels more mixed by someone that was more interested in hardcore and having had it, or given the history of this particular more hardcore rooted metalcore that also happens to stem elements of math rock in into their music, or mathier elements, which is exactly something this band has done. They still keep this guy named Josh Newell as their producer / recording engineer. The production was fine on the last record, and they kind of keep that going too. I don't know if they've had him for a long run, and apparently Alex Runninger has been their recent drummer for this session, at least. Don't know if he's still involved with the band, but it seems so far it's Joe Lester, David Timnick, and Sasha Dunable are the only, I guess, somewhat founding original members that I can think of. It seems they do credit and additional guitars and co-writing on The Coal and the Sour Everythings by a guy named Ben Sharp. And this was recorded around August to September of 2019 when this record was conceived, it seems. They credited a lot of people, and it seems one of those people, and I'm not surprised they use freaking orange amps, especially given those Mastodon comparisons. I do find it funny that they mentioned something that's, I guess, sort of a punny joke name, Meth Lab for Cutie. A lot of other names, even having mentioned Neurosis here, which is pretty cool. Apparently it's crediting, I guess, a band that's referring to their, speaking of orbs, since that's one of the literal songs on there, which they had a recent music video for, by the way. Their music is definitely of the more jazzier ilk. Their growls, at least back then with whatever they were producing with, had come off very closer to the dude from... My name escapes me, but I know I'm thinking BT Bam. I don't know why I can't remember the name. My buddy will kill me for that, but yeah. The opening track is just an intro track, really. There's not much to it. Some of these things do grow on you. In fact, this album, even if you look in the back, it's even more of a hint to prehistoricism. I mean, look. Hint. But you've been... it's more than, for me, to think it's more the music than the lyricism, though I don't know if what they've talked on about it. So I'm a little half and half here in terms of research. But the Coal was pretty solid. For me, Contrapasso just keeps coming at me. The riffage is great. I love that little, the little snippet that you do here that I could show you, I guess. The nice little clean, they have a sort of cleanish thing near the end of the Coal that's pretty cool. They're sometimes have their jazzier. I feel like a lot of what I did enjoy from their last record, those two tracks specifically, comes around a lot more here. These past couple records have been kind of a slight more closer return to form of being this sort of pocket between prehistoricism and Valley of Smoke. But they start to slightly try to seep in certain aspects that did work about Habitual Levitations, that, or at least I thought was great about it and was fun to listen to. And they try to seep that into these here as well, it seems. And having big names, big artists to mix your albums, of all things, too. That are kind of perfectionists in their own specific craft with those particular bands they're associated with. Within these past couple albums have been interesting. And I guess both between Devin and how it's mixed in the last record and then Blues here, I actually do like the mixing of that he brings to this, he does have an understanding of that. Even though I'd like to say I could divulge more into that, but all I have to go off of is the last Converge album, which was really, really freaking good. If anything, in the songs that don't really grab me the least, I would say, is more so Tripolar. I guess, like I said, the intro track, but Checker Misfortunes is fine. I feel like it's more like the way they end their tracks is pretty cool going into certain songs. Pangloss is probably the best of the singles. Cuban Nessus is fine, but it's the fact that video is more so or less a sequel, follow-up to their previous album, to one of their previous records. To a video for the previous record, previous album, Fast Worms, the weird dolphin thing. I'm guessing it was a prequel video to that. It's whatever. Looks like a bad B-movie, but which might have been the intention. And I'm guessing Speaking of Orbs was supposed to be sort of a conclusion from a different, or something involving a weird perspective change from, it seems the brother of the dude that wound up being the dolphin dude was looking for the dude, and I'm guessing from the camera angles, maybe it's the dolphin dude coming in and, well, turning out to be whatever. This creature's, it's just been weird. But Checker Misfortune's fine. It picks up a little bit better, but Pangloss is a much better track. The Contrapasso, just as a track overall, I do enjoy it. To me, it's not so much its lyricism here. It's hard to really follow it, to be honest, for me, without having any real context of what they were going for, if there was a concept towards this. Well, without them actually showing off more details about it, and I need to, yeah. But anyways, as for Sour Everythings isn't a bad choice. It was all about how they were going to end this thing, and they ended pretty decently, but to say that this album is the best thing I've heard in prog, have I heard better since last year? Yeah, even from Devin himself. Fortunately. Hell, it would have been nice to have had Devin coming off of that going into this, though, given Devin coming off of next year to the point where he's thinking of kind of going back to doing something more along the lines of strapping and given that you kind of made a magnum opus already in Empath, Devin, don't worry about that. But anyways, as far as this album's concerned, a lot of cool ideas do show up at so especially by the point of the start of More of the Coal, you definitely hear his growls come off very Chad Gray, Mudvayne type of growls, which isn't a bad thing. His growls are what people don't usually complain about when it comes to Chad Gray, as opposed to his cleans. But so there's that. But I could see it's still like an acquired, I'd say it's sort of acquired taste. There are moments where I guess you could say it's kind of genty, even with the likes of Pangloss. But that was one of the better tracks, for sure. I do kind of enjoy a lot of the first half up to a point of Speaking of Orbs. And the vocals did get a little cleaner, even to the extent of how they were kind of being cleaner. And there's some moments where the vocals do come off at certain points. Sometimes it's Staley era, and sometimes it's more Duvall era, sort of harmonizing. Mostly Duvall era, but there are moments where it kind of seems in the way it's mixed in the production just come off like they're trying to give you that sort of weird or at least try to balance it out in a way that the Duvall Era tried to do with their last record and mostly succeeded and made honestly a better album than Little Dinosaurs here, which is here nor there on that. But this album overall, the best, it's, depending on how this year goes, I'm going to say it's kind of a thumbs up that wants to edge itself out at moments and at times with this. But I can kind of say, given where we're at currently, I'm probably going to wind up having it in my top 5 or 10 right now. Subject to change. Intronaut isn't not a bad album. I don't know if I could say this is your go-to album. I would rather say maybe The Void, maybe Habitual Levitations, maybe Valley of... Basically anything kind of around the first 4 albums, more so or less. This one was sort of them leaving off from the return to form they did have, and then them kind of further exploring again. But in a way that's kind of this weird mix, blend between the more extreme style they do have and whatnot. I do enjoy what they do bring to the table. There are some moments where some Deftonesy and hum moments do come out. I get more Deftones than anything. Almost Torch in places, or at least more like the earlier kind of things, but not to the point of being more punk and more alternative aspect, not so much more punk aspects, maybe a little on the hardcore, in that more convergy kind of way. There's still that kind of lenient back into that more progressive skew of sludge metal acts, like the Baronesses that have come up, that have spewed up from the Baronesses and your Mastodons. They, of course, them acknowledging Mastodon, but like overall, this record is pretty solid. Like as I've said, definitely enjoyable for what it is. But I don't know, if you're a fan, you will definitely enjoy this record for what it is. More so or less, even if you know the fact that, Kurt Ballou makes this thing, which is freaking awesome. And I liked Converge. I still need to get that newer record though. That Converge, that latest one, which was pretty good. I still need to check out all their stuff too, in case they do come up with a new one all of a sudden at some point. I don't know when, but we shall see. We shall see on that. But anyways, that's kind of it, guys. Intronauts, Fluid Existential Inversions. What did y'all think of the record? Did you like it? Did you like it? Did you not like it so much as me? Are you still waiting for something to basically knock Spanish Love Songs, Brave Faces, everyone off the tippy tops of the mountain at this point of 2020? Leave a comment below, let me know, I guess. Rock the like button with thrust if you must if you liked this video. Also, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell. Keep it real, keep it rocking. This is rocking here at Rockin' Movies with Tyler. I'm Tyler. We'll see you in the next video, which will hopefully be more likely at this point, prior to the next Shimoda Rocks, or in between moments of, at least there are 2 albums post the kids portion of their name being taken off. I'm going to leave it at that, because that album's coming out, and it's going to be a nice little birthday present. If it's really good. If it's really good. Oh my God. Forever. Alright. Anyway. And then after that, I plan on trying to marathon and splice in here and there some Black Sabbath classics. In commemoration of it being their 50th anniversary year. So expect that throughout the year. And then whatever movies I decide to see, I guess. Or I'm able to afford to see. But anyways, take care, y'all.